Chapter 20. Artist Loft.
What do you mean burned up?
James said as he applied a layer of white gesso to a canvas. I had to fill James in on what I had discovered before I painted anything else. There were these two Brazilian guys throwing a ton of paintings into the incinerator, I said, including mine.
Whose paintings?
I don't know. There was a whole bunch of different styles. It looked like Gary was cleaning house of his mediocre artwork. Pedro took the boobs.
Wait a minute. Who's Pedro? What boobs?
I mean, it's a long story. I told those guys that I saw what was going on down there.
What did Eastman have to say about this?
He said he wasn't satisfied with the quality of my work. Can you believe that? I did my Lord of the Manor impression, a rich guy with an English accent. Oh, I don't like the quality of your work, my good man. I brushed aside some imaginary shrubbery. Dig those bushes up and remove them from my property at once.
But he paid you for the work.
That's what I'm saying. I started pacing in James's tiny workspace. He's so friggin' rich that he doesn't even care. He shook his head.
Corporate America screws the little guy over again.
I'm not sure what he even likes. He had a Hitler on his wall, for God's sake. James removed a brush hair from his canvas with his fingernail, then said,
You were pumping out 2 paintings a week there. How long were you going to let that go on for?
I know. I was mostly concerned about quantity versus quality. I've never made so much money this fast.
Maybe you need to focus more on the work.
But how do you say one painting is better than another? More brush strokes? Finer details?
He liked your work initially. It's what got this started, right?
Right. I stopped pacing. I guess I got to go back to what I was originally doing.
Just focus on the work.
I think I got it. Let me take another whack at this. I walked over to his doorway. Thanks, James. I went back to my room and started to prepare another painting. I was going to call this one The Division of Notre Dame. I was going to use a technique called divisionism or pointillism, where you group different dots of color together to form a different shade. When you stand back and look, the dots all blend together. It would be something like George Seurat's A Sunday Afternoon on the island of La Grande Jatte. It would take a while because I had to plan the different hues and get the details just right. I also found a postcard of the cathedral from the turn of the century and used that for reference. I got to work. 5 days later, I drove to the DLC headquarters with my new painting, plus the one Gary insisted on having back. My phone rang. It was Linda. I answered the phone in my 40s gangster voice. Hey, dollface, what's up? She laughed.
Okay, sport, what you doing?
I'm on my way over to deliver a new painting to DLC.
How'd it come out?
I'm happy with it. It took friggin' forever to work in the pointillism style. Now I know what writer's cramp feels like.
Do you think he's gonna like it?
He's gotta like it, I said with mock confidence.
What are you doing this Thursday?
I don't know. What do you got?
Since you took me to the MFA,
She said with a sly hint in her voice.
I've got another museum we can go to. The MOBA.
Distracted, I said, oh, cool. And then I thought about it. What's the MOBA? I said. She did a dramatic pause and said,
The Museum of Bad Art.
No way. I've heard of that place.
It's located in Somerville in the basement of a movie theater. I figure we can catch a movie while we're there and have dinner afterwards.
I considered the implications. I said, wait a minute. Are you trying to give me some kind of inspiration for my work?
Hey, after that IKEA date, I don't know.
But that wasn't a date. We were just hanging out. In a sing-songy voice, she said,
You say tomato, I say tomato.
I laughed. Okay, you're on. I got to the loading dock and took both my paintings up to Mookie's little room. He was sitting there drinking a cup of coffee. Hey, Mook, I said to him. I'm going to drop these off on my usual spot,
Okay.
he said as he put down his cup.
How was the traffic coming over here?
I quickly accelerated over to the flappy doors and pretended I didn't hear him. Damn. Another painting was leaning against the wall. It was a generic-looking landscape with some interesting cloud formations. I put my paintings in my usual spot and studied the other composition. My stuff looked way better than that. I walked over to the incinerator on the other side of the room. The door was closed and it felt cold. Nobody had been using it recently. That was good. I wondered, do these artists even know what's been happening down here? Gary did mention he was hedging his bets, but I couldn't see how this other guy's stuff was anything special. On the other side of the loading dock, a phone rang in Mookie's little room, and he answered it. That gave me an idea. I wonder if Mookie was in on this. Did he know what was going on here at night? I walked over to him. Mookie was speaking into the phone.
Okay. I'll be here until 5, okay? Bye.
He hung up. Hey, Mookie, I asked him. I noticed there's another painting over there by the doors. Do you know where that came from?
Oh, yeah. That's a gentleman by the name of Billy. Nice fella.
How often does he come by?
He comes by with a painting every 2 weeks or so.
Really?
There are about 5 of you guys that come by with the paintings.
5?
Yeah, one guy does a lot of nudies.
He added with an embarrassed smile.
I kind of like those.
What do you do with them?
Victoria just said to leave them there. I guess she gets them later.
And you've never thrown them into the incinerator? Mookie had a puzzled expression on his face.
You shouldn't do that. That's somebody's property.
Have you seen anything like that at night?
No, I go home at 5.
Okay, so it sounded like Mookie wasn't in on any of this. I figured I could use an ally to keep tabs on what was going on around this place. If I needed to dig up any more information, I definitely wanted him on my side. So Mookie, I said to him, how about those Red Sox?